Most people eat meat, and if you clicked on this video, then you probably do. But not only that, you also feel that at least some part of you thinks it is wrong. I will say now, and I will get into it in the video later, that it is not your fault. But even though it isn't, it is up to you and me to make the world the best it can be. First thing I want to talk about is that this is something that is conditioned to us since birth. Before you even knew the reality of the world, since you were a baby, or since you were 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, you were probably going to McDonald's or you were eating meat at home. You were already building an appetite, a lifestyle, a reality where meat is in it. And now you have to somehow break your whole reality since birth to realize that maybe this is wrong. That's why it's so difficult, I think. There are many people who were born as a vegetarian in their family or vegan, and then when they grow up, they just maybe are curious, but if their parents instilled morals into them about what this is, then they have no urge. They have no urge. It's just like a drug. If you've never tried marijuana, or if you've never tried, I don't know, cocaine, like, you might be curious how it feels, or how, in the case of meat, how it tastes, but you don't have to. You don't have to try it. You can easily go on living without ever trying it. So what I'm trying to say is that so much of our life is not baked into us as a human. It is baked into how we were raised and how society has cultivated this reality where very immoral things are considered okay. Just like with alcohol or different drugs in society, it has also been normalized to eat meat and kill animals and certain animals for us to eat. And, there's the argument that this is something that humans did for our whole entire history as a kill or be killed, survival of the fittest world. And that is true. That is true, but it is also a different world now, that now we have a choice, a real choice. It has been conditioned to us since birth that we need meat for protein, for our health, for strength and muscles. And I am not here to talk about whether or not meat is okay for you and your health. That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about ethics and morals, and whether or not you can still live your best life holding true to your morals by not eating meat, because it is possible to live your best life without other beings suffering. Because I was vegetarian for just 3 months, many years ago, and then I got a job at a barbecue restaurant because my family friend owned a restaurant, and I was like 16 or 15, and I wanted my first job, and I didn't have to do an interview, so I got the job. Even though I was vegetarian, I was like, I'll do it. And within a month or two of working there, I got so desensitized to the amount of meat coming in shipments to the restaurant. I was like, this is one restaurant. This is hundreds or thousands of animals just in this one restaurant, of chickens, cows, all different kinds of meat, fish. And I stopped being vegetarian because I had to taste the food that we were serving, and it was free for me, so I stopped. And ever since then, I've had the biggest cognitive dissonance, meaning a disconnect of my actions and my thoughts. I eat meat even though I know I don't want to, and I shouldn't, and I don't have to, and I justify it by very much respecting the food and honestly ignoring the reality of it. And I think that's what we all do, is we all ignore. If you eat meat and you know that you feel like you shouldn't, or you should at least lessen your consumption of meat, or you have it in the back of your mind that it's bad, you just ignore the reality. You just order a chicken sandwich, whatever beef thing you're getting, you just ignore that it was once a part of a live animal that was grown for us to kill and for you to buy and then for you to consume. It's all a cycle, and if you stop and you justify with the idea of if it's only you stopping, then that chicken is not going to be saved. Someone else is going to buy the chicken, or these slaughterhouses and meat factories and farms are not going to go out of business, or nothing's going to change if it's just me stopping, so I should just keep doing it and I'll just respect the food. At least that's what I do. But the reality also is that you can only do what you can do. You can advocate to other people about your thoughts, like I'm doing right now. But the reality is also that the first thing that you have to do is to take action for yourself and stop eating meat. Because you can only do what you can do. That's the biggest thing in your control. The next thing I want to talk about in regards to eating meat is how conditioned it is into our thoughts more. Because when you think about dogs and cats, we see these animals as pets. We don't ever want suffering to come from them. If we see suffering, or if we hear that someplace they have a different culture where they may or not eat dogs or cats, then we are horrified, even though we're totally fine as a society to not feel the same for chickens, cows, pigs, most fish. But why is that? Is it because they're cute? Is it because they somewhat have some kind of human aspects to them in terms of emotion, and dogs whimper and cats are independent? Why is it that we see dogs and cats as different? It's not because they're cute, because at least in Western society, we also feel the same about rats, about most insects like cockroaches or a beetle, or say raccoons or squirrels. We have an aversion to that, even though they're not the cutest animals. And it's not about intelligence either. Octopuses or octopi have been shown to have high levels of intelligence, and also pigs, I believe, but maybe to a lesser degree, have been shown to have higher than average levels of intelligence. And yet, people love to eat octopus, and we see it as okay. Why is it that we as a society see it differently? It's because we're conditioned to feel that way. Just like with alcohol, just like with drugs. Except with, say, alcohol, the only person you're affecting is yourself. When you think of alcohol or even fast food, processed food, just in terms of how unhealthy it is for yourself, we still accept it because it is accepted by society and accepted by the government as, institutions, and it's legal. So because of those things, we are so conditioned to think it's okay. I'm not doing anything illegal. No one's going to bash me. And in regards to those two things, just about your health, those are only affecting yourself. There's the argument, and maybe it's okay, that you should have the free will to poison yourself. Because alcohol is scientifically considered a poison. And these processed foods and fast food are not good for you on so many levels. For your digestion, for your cognition, for your brain, for your body in its entirety. It has a very high caloric count compared to how satiated you're going to be after you eat. So you're easily going to eat more calories than you should, than if you were eating whole foods. But that's a sidetrack. That's a video for another day. When you're talking about meat and eating meat, you are not only affecting yourself, you are affecting these animals that you're killing, that you're eating. You yourself are not killing these animals. So you have a disconnection to reality now, because we're not in a society where you go and hunt your own food anymore. You provide something else to society for money, and then you can just go buy meat at the store packaged for you, and you don't even ever have to think that it was once an animal, alive, walking around. You are affecting another life. Kind of the last thing I want to talk about here is the question that I still argue with to myself is, if we raise and kill, it's still killing, animals in a humane way with the most minimal suffering, is it okay? If we raise these animals on regenerative farms and they eat good and they're not overfed with artificial foods to make them even more fat and to make them not even be able to walk, that's happening to chickens right now. If we have them have healthy lives and they're truly on pasture, on a farm, and being able to basically live their normal life, or even better by eating really good high quality grass or foods, and then when we kill them, we make sure it is with no suffering that they die while they're sleeping, or it's instantaneous and they don't even know anything. Is it okay? It's an idea to think about, because on one side I have seen videos of, I believe, pigs, and they have an electric shock machine where they put the pigs' heads in between these two rods, and it seems like that instantly kills them, at least within a second. Maybe they have a half a second of insane suffering, but that's pretty much what it will look like if we instantly kill them without suffering. And it is a sight to see these animals just die. And the other side of being pro raising and killing animals in a humane way with the least amount of suffering is that if before we go into a society where we don't eat meat at all, it might be a stepping stone to at least improve legally the conditions of these slaughterhouses and farms of all these different kinds of animals. The first thing we can do right now is make sure they have good conditions for the animals before we make them illegal or make it more anything else. We should just make it a humane working environment, a humane environment, at least more so. The most humane you can make an environment where the environment is you kill animals. So I didn't have an agenda in terms of trying to prove to you if you should change your actions, but what I do know and what I hoped for in this video was that you think and you ponder your own choices that you make, because we have to question these things, especially when we're affecting other people's lives, whether that comes to eating meat, whether that comes to war, whether that comes to how you treat people. There are so many things in your life where your actions don't just affect you, they affect other people and other beings. So thank you for listening if you made it this far. I appreciate you. Jeremy out.
Strange graduates. That it does. To your good health.
Thank you.